We are super excited today to have our guest. She has a different background than anybody we've spoken to before in her journey to this business. So I'm really looking forward to diving into that. So I'll give you a little bit about her background. Jules Price. Jules is originally from outside of Washington, D.C., and then lived in New York City for 14 years, performing professionally in Broadway musicals and operettas. She currently still performs with the New York City Ballet as a principal singer in their West Side Story Suites repertoire. Jules relocated to Sarasota, Florida with her husband Jeremy and became one of the top reps for an international network marketing company. This business opened up a worldwide platform for her to voice her down to earth, relatable advice. Her inspirational mindset, quirky sense of humor, and ability to empower and inspire people into action has created a wide impact across both business and personal realms. She published her first book in 2010 to help people with relationships in business, and her second book was published in 2019 when which is a humorous book for women only about dating and relationships called Don't Eat the Scraps. She also is a professional voiceover artist from her home studio, where I have to mention she recorded the audible version of Does the Shoe Fit, the guide to help you decide if network marketing is for you, for us. So I love that. I've loved Jules' voice ever since I met her. So I wanted her to record that book for us. Jules also has a successful fun apparel brand based on positivity and kindness called Free to Be. She continues to be a corporate motivational trainer, voiceover artist, and top earner in her network marketing company. Jules is passionate about helping others to listen to life, get out of their own way, and achieve all the success that they desire. We are so happy to have you here with us. So, why don't you just start out by telling us your story and how you were introduced to this business and all of that?
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor, and it's very special to be asked to do this. So, yeah, I had never been exposed to network marketing before, and I didn't have any preconceived notions about it. I didn't, some people kind of have already a decision about what that means to them, and I really didn't. I knew about it, and I didn't really know of any company that I felt, passionate about sharing, but I didn't have a strong feeling one way or the other. And as you mentioned, I was a singer in New York. As we'll talk about, I wish I had known about it then in my whole 14-year career as a singer, but I didn't really, focus on it. And when I left New York, my husband and I moved to Sarasota, Florida, and I didn't know anybody here. We really just picked this area because of the lifestyle, and we lived in a tiny little 600 square foot apartment in Manhattan that would have been $1 million to buy. So we just hit that place in our lives where we were ready for the next kind of lifestyle step. But we moved here without jobs, without friends, without family, without furniture or cars. We just picked it and moved. So it really was a huge life change. And I think that sometimes, when you step out of that comfort zone, you open the door for other amazing things that you wouldn't have necessarily found. And that's what happened to me. Basically, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do here, and I was because I didn't know anyone. I was going to women's groups and book clubs, a lot of stuff online, just looking for connections. And a woman wrote to me and asked me to join her women's group, but it was over an hour away. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I need to drive that far for friends, I'm in trouble. So I said no. And she said, oh, well, when's your birthday? I like to send birthday cards. And that was it. I didn't think anything else of it. Well, 7 months later, I walked out to my mailbox here and got a birthday card from her. And it just said, hey, Jules, hope you've met some nice people. Florida's lucky to have you. And I was blown away because inside the birthday card was a Starbucks card, and it was for $5. And I'm like, who does that? So I found her email to call her up and just say, wow, what is this? And she showed it to me, and showed me I could be a customer or a rep. And I think my head exploded, and I'm like, they're going to pay me to tell people about this. And, it was the first time I really thought like, well, this is something that I could be excited about sharing. And I can't believe that this is a business, And so I signed up, and that was really my first introduction to network marketing in a way that, the product itself was such a no-brainer to me that I thought, I'm going to own an island. So it was really exciting and fun. It was perfect, that perfect storm timing of not knowing what my next step was, and really seeing the parallels, which we'll talk about too, but of sort of my current business that I've been conditioned to doing, all my life of being a performer, and how much that kind of set me up for a lot of the same skills I needed to learn in my network marketing business.
Cool.
Wow, that is wonderful. What a great story you have. And good for that person for leading with love and following up with you and reaching out just from a place of caring and love. I love it when that's how we get to do business, that's so wonderful. Speaking of that sort of thing that I love, what is it that you would say you love the most about network marketing, and maybe what you found that's been any reason that it's particularly good for performers?
Definitely. Well, so one of the things I connected to right away is that I was very cognizant of the fact that as an actor and a singer, you are literally trading your time for money all the time. You're not on stage, you don't get paid. Someone doesn't put you in a show, you're not getting paid. And, and then even what I did in between singing I transcribed for news networks, which was a great job. I preferred that to waiting tables. But again, like, talk about trading your time for money. You got paid by the word. So what was so exciting to me about network marketing right from the start was that not only are you going to get paid to share this cool thing, but then it's the residual income, which I had never had any exposure to and any access to. And the fact that they were going to pay me forever when these people were using the thing that I showed them once. And, here I am 13, 14 years later, getting paid on my first customer from that long ago because I exposed them to this. So that was very exciting for me. And, I think a lot of people, no matter what profession you're in, can relate to trading your time for money. But certainly as an actor and a singer, you have a real awareness of the fact that there's the fragility in you're only getting paid when you are allowed to do something, because you have to audition and someone has to put you in that show. So that was number one, and why not only I connected to it, but it's so perfect for anyone in that profession or a similar profession. I also loved that I thought of it like, I just felt like such a gift, because I pretended that I had walked in to someone's office and they're like, okay, so you can work whenever you want to. You don't have a boss. You don't have territories. You'll make good money when you share it. No one yells at you if you don't, and it was like, if I had to design my perfect job of what I wanted to do using like my skills as enjoying people, it was like I couldn't think of a single downside. It was like, this is a company that's willing to pay me to market this, and I don't have to do all the corporate work. I just need to tell people about it and get paid when they use it. I'm like, that's amazing. And probably the other thing that I loved so much about it, that again, people in my profession could relate to, is that it's not meant to be a full-time job right from the start. It's designed to be a part-time job. It's designed for you to carve 1 hour of your day or 2 hours of your day, or then more maybe as you start developing your income. But it's nobody wants you to quit your job to be a network marketing professional the day you sign up. That's just not what you're supposed to do. That puts too much pressure on you. So I loved that you could be consistent and put aside a small amount of time towards your goals every day, and build that full-time income with that part of the day that you had to, that you were able to devote to it. So I absolutely loved that side of it. And, anyone that says, oh, I don't have time for that, they're not prioritizing it, because everyone has that half hour a day that they can devote to the consistency that you need in this business to create the results that you desire.
Oh, I love that you shared that. And I think it's so helpful for you to share, because I think a lot of times people glamorize that role of being a singer, being an actress, being on stage. And the reality is the vast majority are making money from some kind of side job that does require a lot more time for them with less pay. And this is a good way to fill that gap, to fill in that gap when flexible, so that when you do get a call from an audition and you have to be at rehearsal for something, then it doesn't compromise that other thing that you're doing to try to earn money. I think that's brilliant. That's great. And I'm glad you're speaking into that.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing real quick about that is that, nobody goes to 2 auditions in New York and gives up, right? It's like, you don't move to Manhattan, give it a half hour shot and then leave, right? So it's like, again, people in my profession, we understand rejection. We understand having a vision and a goal and going after things and getting disappointed and picking yourself back up, and getting back in line at 5 a.m, with the homeless people on the street to get a tiny time slot to sing for 30 seconds. So it's like, it's a lot of that same vision and believing in yourself and overcoming the obstacles that you need, that was so similar to, network marketing requires that. And mindset is the key to all of that, to kind of, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, this is easy compared to what I did in New York, because if someone said no to me in network marketing, I'm like, okay, I felt sorry for them, and so you just have to kind of develop a little bit of that, like knowing where you're going and believing in yourself, even if you have some naysayers, because it's the same thing in performing, that where you're going and you just have to wait for someone else to see that in you.
What a great analogy. That is so wonderful. I'm glad you shared that, because for people that don't have that experience and maybe don't have that vision about, they fell in love with the products, or they wanted to support a friend of theirs and they thought it was a good idea, and that's kind of where their vision stopped with it. It's really hard to weather the no's that you run into, or the fact that not everybody that you talk to agrees with you, or not everything that you post gets tons of likes and feedback. And it's so good that you can lean on the experience you had in your career of understanding this is about a bigger vision, and I'm expecting that it's not going to be linear. I'm expecting that it's going to be setback but consistent to gain ground on. So I love that, Jules. I love that. So let me ask, did you ever encounter any misconceptions about network marketing, and what were they and how'd you handle it?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that I maybe didn't understand initially, or had assumptions about, is that everyone would want it as much as I did. I think I was like, what, because again, it's like I come from that background of everyone's going after their dreams, and everyone I surrounded myself with was doing that in New York. So I just thought everybody would have that same drive and that same excitement, and that was a big thing I had to learn, that not everybody even wants it as much as I do, and you can't want it for them, because everyone has to have their own journey with this, and you're not anybody's boss. So that was a big thing that I had to kind of get past and understand pretty quickly, that I couldn't put what I wanted for other people on them. Also, Laura, you mentioned about a linear path. I think that there's a misconception that, it's just a linear line to the top, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, there's so much up and down, both in your, the rejection part of it, and the mindset part of it, in the things that kind of, blindside you as you go. And there's very little linear path at all. It's just that as long as you keep moving forward, you're going to hopefully have, at least that upward growth, but it's definitely not a linear path. And then I think the last misconception too is that, this isn't easy money. It's not like, it isn't a pyramid scheme. It's a business. And so, the fact is, I always use the analogy, if you had a store downtown and your sign was said closed, it's like people are going to walk past that store every day and wonder why it's closed, but you're not going to be making any money. And so, like, every day as a network marketer, you have to turn your closed sign to open, and you have to be sharing this with people, and you have to do the hard stuff by following up. But it's still a business, and whether it's a low starter, which is why people I think it's easy, because it's not a lot of buy-in, you still have to put that work into it every single day and turn your closed sign to open if you want to make money in the business. So those are the things I think that it wasn't as much as I thought you didn't have to do that, but it is a major misconception that I think people just think it's going to be super easy, that everyone's just going to, say yes, that it's going to be a linear trajectory, and, and it isn't. So if you have that mindset up front and you're going to have those setbacks, I think it's easier to keep going.
Just like in life. I
Yeah.
mean, life doesn't just always work out either. I love that we're talking about this. I have always thought this was such a great business for people in this profession, because my oldest daughter has always wanted to be an actress. And so I got a little bitty taste of what happens in that world, because you have to be available if you get called at the last minute for an audition. And it seems like everything is always last minute. And if you're in a regular job, you're not going to be able to respond to those kinds of things. So I really do hope that this episode will get shared with people that need this kind of freedom and flexibility, because this could be just what they're looking for. But it's up to us to connect the dots, because most people are not going to just get that network marketing is, a good fit for them, because they don't think of it this way.
Yeah.
So,
or they're looking for that, the side job that they need to know that they're going to make a certain amount of money. So it's too scary to think of this as a side job because it's not a given. But at the same time, it has so much more potential to be way beyond your wildest dreams just by putting in that small amount of time per day.
yes, exactly. So what do you think, after, now that you've been in this and seen so many different scenarios, I'm sure, what do you think it takes to really be successful in this business?
Well, obviously for me, number one is always going to be the mindset, because I think that is where most people do fail. And, I always joke around that people think I'm like the most positive person in the world, but I'm actually, my mom would tell you, I was sort of a glass half empty girl, because as a Virgo, I always wanted to like come up with all the things that could go wrong to be prepared, and so like I do think you have to learn those tools, and you have to, if you're not good at it, you can get good. I read a book a long time ago in college. I was a psych major, called Learned Optimism, by Martin Seligman. And man, that was really eye-opening to me, that like you can teach yourself to become more of a positive person if it's not your go-to. And the same thing that can happen to you, you can interpret in different ways. And it really taught me, there's some fun little workbook stuff in there too, but it really taught me about like, oh my gosh, you really can create your own future by how you decide about things. And so many people are already deciding that they're not going to succeed. It's going to affect their outcomes. So positive outlook, and get better at it if you're not good. Also, consistency. I'm sure other people have talked about on the podcast about the power of consistency, but it's very easy to not do this. It's very easy to feel like, you know what, I'd rather watch TV in that hour of time that I could be doing this, or, oh, I need to go to my kids' soccer games, so it's just not possible, or, and there's just always going to be some excuse, because there's most days you don't feel like doing it, and it's easy to do and it's easy not to do. So having that consistency in whether you feel like it or not, doing it, and that just creates, consistency is going to create that trajectory that you're looking for, and it's impossible not to if you're sharing it and you're following up, and you're sharing it and you're following up. And I think overall, maybe going alongside both those things, the positive outlook and the consistency, is finding joy in the journey, because you have to manage your disappointments. You have to find the joy in the sharing of it. Look for the people that inspire you. And, the journey is a major part of it, because you don't just arrive there. So you have to find the things that keep you going, and the things that you appreciate about it, and the things that you have fun along the way.
I think that book sounds like a good recommendation, probably for a lot of people in this business.
It's important. And, it's amazing how many people just make comments all the time that are so negative about themselves and about, their abilities. And those are the things, that number one thing that's going to drag you down and cause you to not ever succeed, is if you just have those negative patterns.
So, what is something that you wish you had known about this business before you got started?
Hmm. Well, I think kind of what we talked about a little bit, about knowing that you're going to want things for people more than sometimes they want it for themselves. Being disappointed by what people say they're going to do. We all have the people that are like, I'm going to be your next, triple level hoo-ha, whatever, and then they like do nothing. So the investing in people emotionally, I think, if I had in hindsight, I would have really been a little bit more measured that way, because you can really get yourself down if you're too emotionally invested in someone else's success when they don't want it for themselves. So, finding that balance. Of course, you want to help people and you want to support people, but you're not their boss, you're not their mom, and you can't have those super highs and lows of what other people say they're going to do and don't do. So that's number one. And because I'm a people pleaser, and I want to help everyone, and I want everyone to succeed. I remember, oh my gosh, I don't know. I had all these visions of, like, how the statistics are, what, like, 10% of people like do really well in network marketing, or you guys know more than me, but I'm like, no, it's going to be everyone. Like, I just thought I could save the world and I could change those numbers. And like, no, those numbers exist for a reason, because the percentages of people are people, right? So I really took on a lot of that emotionally, because I thought I could change that. And then, I don't know, I guess the other thing I would say that I didn't know, and it's just good to keep in mind, there's nothing you can do about it. But again, the fact is that every company out there is going to have changes. They're going to change, add more products, take your products away. They're going to change the comp plan. If you're in the company a long time, they're probably going to change the comp plan multiple times when you're in, and so the fact is that because you don't own the company and you're a rep, you have to roll with the punches, and you have to, reframe and regroup, and always be like looking for the positive, because they're doing it most of the time to help you, for the field or for the company to be able to grow. And so that's something that I never thought about or knew about, but I've had to navigate in my 13, 14 years in this business, is that you have to align with what you're given, or get off the boat. So that's just something to really understand. And it's not a negative, because to me, I always saw it as, what can I see in this change that is positive, and what can I help other people see, because people don't like change, right? So as soon as there's something new, they don't trust it, or something that's different, they don't trust it. So it's always about like realigning yourself, reframing with what's good about it, and staying on board. And that's really important, and something I never really thought about before I got into this profession.
Well, that is so insightful. All of what you shared there is really insightful. I especially liked what you shared about becoming emotionally attached to the success of someone else, or what someone says they're going to do. Oh my goodness. It takes some people, some of us, myself included, decades to realize that. I feel responsible for their success. And when they don't do what they said they were going to do, my emotions are attached to it. And it can be a roller coaster ride, which is unnecessary. because you care about it more than they care about it. And it really is unnecessary. And I just have to really like draw a line in the sand, and it takes an extra mental effort for me to say, okay, this is what it is and what it was, but it doesn't define who I am, and it doesn't define what I'm doing and what we are accomplishing here. I have to be very deliberate as an intentional decision, or else I fall prey to that so often. I fall prey to that. So I'm so glad that you went there with that, and that you were vulnerable enough to share, hey, this is something that happens sometimes. And it happens to all of us. But it's also something that once you identify it, you can put it in its place and tell it to sit down in the corner or whatever. But you can put it in its place. So good. So, hey, is there anything else that you would say has turned out different about the business than what you thought it was before it started, or anything else in that area?
Yeah, so I think that one of the interesting things that I didn't expect is that when you think about it, in any profession, but especially in a profession like this with recognition and rank advancement and spotlighting and all that kind of stuff, um, in the beginning of your journey, you have to be the person that's excelling and shining. You have to be the person that's hitting those benchmarks and getting those awards, and and rising quickly. uh, and interestingly, in performing, you're the person on stage, you're the person in the spotlight, you're the person that people are clapping for. But in network marketing, you have to turn the corner where you are the person in the back of the room clapping for other people because you're just not always going to be that person, because in the beginning you are, because you have to have that, that trajectory of success. But then your biggest success is about letting go of that and being the person that is, celebrating other people, being the person that has as many team members as possible, being that person on stage. And I always joked around that um, I had to learn a lot of lessons about that because I was a recognition junkie. I was like, my friend Adam called me RJ, because it was like, that's who I was. And I came from that performing background where you were the one on stage. So anyway, it was very interesting shift, and I see it with all the best leaders that you're not the guy anymore. You're the quiet guy in the back being proud of the guy. And that it might be hard to understand until you get started, and you definitely have to be that person winning the awards in the beginning to really get off the ground. But unless you're able to gracefully turn that corner and be the one that's letting other people shine and being the one that lifts other people up, the better you can do that, the higher you're going to soar in this profession. And to me, it was really rewarding, and because it's kind of lonely to be the guy in performing. That's why performers are really depressed a lot of the time, because they get all this applause and they go home and they're depressed. But in this business, you get so much fulfillment out of helping other people succeed, that it really was exciting. That took a deeper level of fulfillment in my life than I'd ever experienced before, by not only being that recognition junkie in the beginning. I have all my awards up in my office, but then you got to turn that corner and be the one that's clapping for other people.
That speaks so much to your accomplishments as well, Jules, that, you went out there and went after it, and you were consistent, and you did the things to get that recognition. And that's a message that I hope everyone hears, that is possible. People can do that. And just because maybe someone told you that that's not real, or that doesn't happen, or maybe your last experience with a company that didn't happen, doesn't mean that it never happens or that it isn't possible to happen. And I love how you position that, because we say that we're in it, to help other people succeed, but it's a real question of your ego when you get to that point where your team is advancing and getting recognized more than you are. And it's something that sometimes, if people are not aware of, it's self-sabotaging for them. They self-sabotage their communication with their team and their own support of their team because they are not aware that that dynamic is happening. I had a friend, a mentor, say to me one time, you have to know when you need to go from being the player on the court to being the coach on the sideline. And it's okay. It's okay to take a step back and not be the player on the field or on the court, but to be the coach on the sideline. And that is a skill set that's important. And congratulations, because you've made that transition and you recognized it and were able to navigate through it. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us, for fun, we like to wrap up with a couple of fun questions. And one of them is, we would love to know something that's making your life easier or that you are just loving these days. It could be an app, a gadget, a recipe, whatever. What would you say is making life easier for you these days?
Well, I think right now the whole world might vote on the fact that Netflix is what's getting everyone through. I mean, this is just weird times right now, right? But along those lines, I do think that, feeding yourself with things that are funny, with things that are inspiring. I'm always wanting to watch things that are inspiring me. I'm always wanting to read things that are inspiring me. Laughter is the best medicine. My book that Janine mentioned, the dating book, it's funny because I think people learn more when they're laughing. And so my favorite comments when people finish it, they say they laughed all the way through and that it was insightful. So I think it's so important to just, grab something that's always going to kind of keep your mind engaged and keep you excited. And if you're ever feeling down, then definitely read a couple pages every night before you go to bed about something that's feeding your mind with positivity and inspiration. For me, the thing that's totally saved me during this, just the lockdown and weirdness is my gym. And being able to just, have those endorphins and get out of my own head, because this is a very heady profession too, where you're always on the phone, you're always working, you're always at the computer, you're always talking to people. And then to be able to get away and have a little bit of a workout. And for those of you that, aren't in that mindset, I will say that I never, ever, ever was that person. And it was pretty recently that I made that a priority in my life. And I cannot recommend it enough to just find something that you enjoy, that you can move around and have that as another piece of your balance in life, because I was very unbalanced in just work. And having that physical workout time has been a huge factor for me.
So important. We were talking about that with someone else earlier, and just the importance of having boundaries and staying balanced is so important.
Yeah.
One of the things that we love the most about this business are the huge hearts of the people that rise to the top. And so we like to ask people, what do you like to give back to?
Well, I think that's a kind of neat thing about network marketing too. Like any business success, but in network marketing, the more money you make, the more you can do for others. And so for me, that was always a driving factor. I was like, I'm going to make $1 million a month so that I can give it all away, and so for my husband and I, we've always been huge, in our community. We love giving to the arts, especially because of my background, to organizations that he is a chef. So giving to All Face Food Bank and any kind of hunger causes we're super passionate about. And again, it's that being able to do more for others, because it is kind of that feeling fulfilled by the more you make, the more you're able to do and create that fulfillment. So my apparel business that you mentioned gives back to the Honeybee Conservancy in Manhattan, which is a new passion project for me. But bees are so important in the world, and being able to give to them is really special. And then an organization that both you and I are with, Janine, is that Women United for Change, being able to help women in other countries create their entrepreneurial dreams and seeing that give back as well. These are just some of the things that get me excited. But this profession in general is so exciting because, you know, it is, like I said in the beginning, maybe about you and what you're able to create, a little bit of extra income in your life. Then it's about the people that you're meeting and helping. And then it just grows beyond that to where you're really able to do things way beyond your own arm's reach and affect change in pretty significant ways. So it's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we will post how people can find out about Free to Be too. That's so exciting that you're doing that. You are doing so many different things these days.
Yeah, I think that everything's always in that sort of same umbrella of positivity because I think that it's so important in life, and it's the easiest thing to let slip away. You know, when life happens to you and negative things come your way, it's really, really hard to turn it around and keep putting those feet forward. So I think that even though I have all these different arms of things, even like the dating book, it's all about just mindset and positivity and gratitude and connecting to others. That's all, you know, what I'm passionate about helping people do.
Yay. Thank
That's
you so
wonderful.
much.
Yes, thank you, Jules. It has been such a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to checking out the clothing line and the book. Sounds fabulous. So thank you so much for sharing that with us and sharing what you've learned. You shared some really valuable lessons. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And you guys are amazing. Thanks for doing this.